Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to BirdNote's year-end event and auction, Reasons to Celebrate, a joy-filled auction and conversation with J. Drew Lanham. My name is Bibi Baksh-Pabian, and I'm BirdNote's Communications Director. Tonight, we're here to enjoy a very special conversation with J. Drew Lanham and reflect on everything we've accomplished in BirdNote's 20th year. You'll hear a special live performance from Brooklyn-based musician Jocelyn Mackenzie, and of course, make sure that BirdNote can keep sharing the stories that inspire people to help birds. Before we begin, just a few quick housekeeping items. This event is being recorded and closed captioning is available as an option at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We want to make sure that this is a kind and welcoming environment for everyone, so bullying, harassment, or spam of any kind will result in us removing you from the event. A special thank you to our sponsors for making this event possible. Our bronze sponsors, the Law Office of Chun T. Wright, Ashwini Sadekar, and Teton Science Schools. And an extra special thank you to our silver and gold sponsors, Zeiss, Evergreen Escapes, Inkdwell Studio, and the Cornell Lab of Ornithology's Bird Academy. A little bit about BirdNote in case you don't know. BirdNote is an independent public media nonprofit that seeks to inspire people to care about the natural world and take steps to protect it. We do that through our daily 2-minute public radio show, BirdNote Daily, which is about birds and conservation issues. It reaches more than 8.5 million people around the world in both English and Spanish. And we also produce the long-form podcast, Bring Birds Back, which covers important, timely issues related to bird conservation. And we operate under the premise that when we love something, we feel moved to protect it. And so with our shows, we aim to cultivate joy, wonder, and a love of birds and the natural world, which then translates into action. This event is our annual fundraiser, so you'll have the chance to bid on nearly 70 amazing items in our virtual auction. We're going to put that link in the chat for you so you can access that. Every bid helps to advance our mission, so please, we ask you to bid generously. If you haven't had a chance yet, please take a moment now and register for the auction. Again, that link is in the chat. It's our Gala bid auction page, so that you can cast your bids during tonight's event. It's absolutely free to register, and you won't be charged anything unless you win something that you bid on. Before I kick it off to our executive director, Nick Byard, I do want to mention a really special offer that we've got going on right now through the end of the auction. It's from our friends at Inkdwell Studios. Artist Jane Kim, who's the artist behind the popular Wall of Birds mural at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology's Visitor Center, she has released a limited collection of sketches from the Wall of Birds. And so when you purchase a sketch through Inkdwell Studios' website, we'll put that link in the chat as well, until 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern tonight, 50% of each purchase made on that site goes to supporting BirdNote's mission. So again, that link will be in the chat so that you can check that out. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it off to our executive director, Nick Byard, to get the event started.
All right, thank you, baby, and hello, everyone. It's great to see so many folks from all over the country and all over the world. My name is Nick Byard. I'm BirdNote's executive director, and I'm thrilled you can join us this evening for this really special event. Now, we decided to call it Reasons to Celebrate because it's even more important to find joy and celebration in challenging times. And these are challenging times for people who care about science, public media, environmental conservation, and equity and inclusion. The team at BirdNote works hard every day to create and produce stories that spread joy, knowledge, curiosity, and feelings of connection across the radio airwaves and podcast feeds. I hope that if you value this work, you'll consider bidding on the amazing items in our auction and maybe even join us as a recurring monthly donor at birdnote.org. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our guest, Dr. J. Drew Lanham. Drew is an author, poet, ornithologist, and distinguished professor of wildlife ecology and master teacher at Clemson University. He's the winner of a multitude of awards, including the MacArthur Genius Grant, and we're proud to count him as a director emeritus of the BirdNote Board of Directors. His latest book is called Joy is the Justice We Give Ourselves. Welcome, Drew.
Hi, how are you, Nick?
I'm doing great. Really nice to see you. And I'm wondering if you could maybe start things off by just kind of grounding us with where you are. What's going on in your backyard today?
Well, I'm in the upstate of South Carolina near a place called Tokena Crossroads. Most people won't know that, but it's equidistant between Atlanta, Georgia, and Charlotte, North Carolina. I like to say it's a downhill hawk's glide from the Blue Wall, the Blue Ridge Escarpment. So, sitting on this farm and in the backyard, which is amply wooded with a few ag fields, newly arrived white-throated sparrows, a lingering Swainson's thrush or two, and just waiting for winter to kick in, or autumn, as it were. So we've got palm warblers wagging their tails at us and just settling in for this season that would appear to be dormant, but really is very active, Nick.
Hmm. And I know you're always you sort of creatively active and busy. And I know it's you put a lot of amazing effort into this book. I'm wondering since this book came out, where have you been sort of channeling that energy? A lot's happened this year too, so I'm just kind of wondering how you're doing and where you're channeling that energy.
Wow, hitting fortunately I get to hit the send button a lot with that, Nick. Thank you for recognizing that. I'm still an ornithologist. I'm still a scientist. It's who I am, but I'm a bird lover and a bird watcher. And so I'm putting a lot of my energy, um, not so much into identifying birds, even though I'm still looking at field marks to do that. More and more, I am taking feel marks, FEEL marks, and identifying with birds. Um, in part, it's because of a need, I think, to relate to goodness in a way, and there's already sort of a boundary that I've crossed, right? In some sort of really a moral way to say goodness. Well, whether these newly arrived white-throated sparrows know it or not, they bring goodness to my life, as I'm sure they bring goodness to many people's lives, just as your newly arrived juncos, right? Even though they're bullying, you said your chestnut-back chickadees, I'm assuming,
Black-capped actually,
black
but chestnuts are
black-capped chickadees.
probably coming soon. Yeah,
Okay, lucky you.
yeah, yeah. I'm not sure how how much of a fight they're actually in, but it's sort of like Cirque du Soleil. I'm never quite able to tell exactly what's behind all the spins and the flips. But it's fun to watch.
Yeah, it is, and and that's the thing that you're taking the time to watch, that you know what the birds are, but I think it's important for us too, Nick, to know who the birds are. And so once we begin sort of that transformation of thinking about them as non-human beings rather than just birds that we can classify um, in all the ways that we do scientifically, then we begin to see common plight in ways. We may not be able to feed upside down like a chickadee. Um, I would certainly wouldn't try it, not now, but we can certainly watch those birds and have some affinity for some behaviors. And even if we don't know what those behaviors mean, those questions that linger in our mind as wonder are then grist for us to learn more. And if we are going to learn more, then we'll work to keep birds around, which is what BirdNote is so good at doing.
One thing I feel like you're really good at of many things is being able to really invest the time in your connection to place. I find it very hard to do that, and technology being a big reason for that. just the day-to-day daily life. I'm wondering if you've experienced obstacles with sort of modern life encroaching upon your ability to do that, or is your connection to nature so strong that nothing can stop you?
Well, I'm a self-admitted Luddite in some ways. Lots of folks would probably agree with that, but I think for me, it's sort of it's been a kind of a slow transition. I used to be one of those ornithology professors who told everyone to leave your phones in your backpacks. We're going to go out, you're going to have your field guide in hand, you're going to have your binoculars, and we're going to watch birds and learn birds the old fashioned way. Well, the thing is that your phone's got a camera on it. Now it has your field guide on it that also has songs and range maps. You're able to record bird songs. And of course, there's eBird there. There are all those things. So I like to encourage people to keep their heads up. I like to think about watching birds is kind of like driving. When you put your head down, all kinds of things can happen in front of you that you don't want to miss. So I've tried to keep that balance. And as a matter of fact, I find myself now frequently going out without binoculars. And it's an interesting exercise to have the widest field of view possible. So I may not be able to immediately tell it's a Swainson's versus a gray cheeked, but I can watch this thrush behave in a way. I can certainly tell by tail wag or pop that whether it's a hermit or the others. But then I begin to release immediately having to know what that bird is by Western science conditions, but that it's a bird that's different, that's here, that's miraculously in this place. So technology cannot transcend what a bird's brain can do. And that gray cheek thrush maybe that I'm seeing might be the same gray cheek thrush, possibly, that I heard in subalpine tundra in Denali National Park. And that to me is something that technology can't grab a hold of. We can tag birds, sure, and use that wonderful technology, Nick. But just the same wonder that I had as a child when I learned what migration was and where this bird may have come from, thrilled me in ways of knowing, but also of wondering. And it led to me becoming a professional ornithologist. But I think the key is for us to protect birds is to always have questions that can't be answered. And that wonder then leads us to a different place that really, for me, honestly, Nick, is close to worship. And so those white-throated sparrows that are here that hopefully are soon joined by white-crowned sparrows begin to stitch the world together for me in ways that social media or any kind of technology fails to do. It's sort of a seasonal exchange, and I live for that.
Hmm. How has all of this impacted your experience of teaching and maybe the joy you find in it? Has that changed over time?
Well, yeah, says the crotchety professor. It uh, it it has in ways, you know, helping students understand how to use the technology. For example, the Magician, the app that's there that allows us to put the phone up and say, "Oh, that's a blah blah blah." Um, to to use that as assistance, but to not depend upon it, right? Because I think the important part of natural history, whether it's ornithology or mammalogy or lepidoptery, whatever it is for us to have questions. And in order for us to have questions, there has to be uncertainty. And so I want my students to be comfortable with the uncertainty of science. I want them to be comfortable with not always being able to identify a bird to species. That somehow they are able to come in from a lab, and I give them a list of the 10 birds that I want them to know by sight, sound, tell me something about their ecology for the next class period, that they have questions, that I'm not answering all the questions, I can't. And I love to have questions from them that I cannot answer. For example, there was a trip that, a field trip that we took up on this nearby deep water lake, a hydroelectric lake called Lake Jocassee, that's only been in existence a short period of time, just a few decades. But somehow common loons have found it. And when I say common loons have found it in the winter, hundreds to thousands. So Brooks Wade and his partner, Kay Cobb Wade, do tours that I am able to go on and to take students out on this cold, blustery day on this deep water lake and to wake to hundreds of loons yodeling
Wow.
and staging, um, and to watch them, to take my eyes off the loons, hard as it might be, to watch these students slack jawed in that is something amazing.
Hmm.
And Brooks and Kay are great friends, and their discovery of loons doing what they are doing here, a species that we probably thought was inflexible in some ways in terms of habitat selection, has found what humans have created on the landscape and are making the best of it. So in that way, I think I'm able to watch students in wonder and awe.
Hmm.
When I'm not able to see that, when I'm not able to sense that, it's time to move on and do something else. I have yet to see anybody really look at their phone um, at pictures of a bird and be in more awe than when they look out and they see that bird doing what that bird does.
Well, that's very encouraging. And I think this is a good moment for us to share. We at BirdNote conducted a national impact survey for the first time after 20 years, and we were curious to know, how does the show impact people's attitudes and behaviors? In particular, does it inspire people to actually take action? And I want to really recognize that BirdNote has been an independent collective effort that started 20 years ago, and many people on this call have been contributing. And so this is something that we should all be celebrating, and everyone who's contributed to BirdNote over the years should feel really good about this. And Drew, I'd love to get your reactions to this, because I think you're also seeing this for the first time. But we
Yeah.
set out early last year to inspire 1 million people to take action to help birds thrive over 3 years. And we thought that was an insane goal. We didn't know how we would do it. And 18 months into the 3 year campaign, we had a third party, top ranked national polling organization interview 2,850 adult radio listeners from the 550 counties where BirdNote airs, and found that over the 20 years of BirdNote being on the radio, it's inspired between 9.25 and 12.75 million people to take action to help birds. And 4.25 and 6.4 million of those people took action during the first half of our 3 year campaign alone. So we undershot, I guess, is to put it lightly. And those who reported taking action took more than 4 actions each on average. So this is when we first saw these results, we had to make sure that we were looking at correct data. We went through many back and forths with our polling partner to make sure this was, we could back this up. And they showed us the numbers, and sure enough, it bore out. So the 2 minute daily immersion into birds, which really isn't about encouraging people to take action specifically. It's an invitation for people to start to love and care about and pay attention to birds, has had this incredible impact on what people actually do. which is something I think we suspected, but we only know it now. So really happy to share this with our audience. And before we move on to the next one, I want to get your reactions to this, Drew.
Well, wow. These are wonderful numbers. I am so glad that you lowballed yourself, but I know that wasn't for a lack of ambition. But what this is beyond encouraging. It's hopeful, right? That's another level. Encouraging leads us to think that something better can happen. Hopeful leads us to feel that something better can happen. And so, in that way, that people are indicating they are feeling something positive for BirdNote and what it's doing for birds, and more that BirdNote is leveraging hearts, heads, and hands to help birds is everything that conservation should be about. I think the shortage that we run into as scientists, Nick, is that we fail to use the four-letter word love enough. And really it's what it comes down to. It's why I got into this work in the first place. It wasn't to become rich, it was to be enriched. And so in that way, looking at these numbers, encouraging millions of people to take action to help birds, and that again is important. And these people may not see themselves as activists, but that's what conservation has to have. And this is indicating that people are becoming conservation activists. And if they're becoming conservation activists, this means that they are doing more than just watching.
Hmm. And I think a lovely piece of what we found out is that, it's not people dropping their whole lives and, rushing off to protest 24/7 or do anything necessarily that might feel extreme to them, but it's building in things that start to feel so much like habits that they don't even notice them as much. So we'll get to what those actions are in a second, but maybe let's go to that second slide. So we also found that 84% of listeners say BirdNote has inspired them to care more about the lives of birds in the natural world. And 97% say BirdNote helped them feel more connected to other people who love nature and to nature itself. So pretty amazing vote of confidence. And the reason that I think that 84% isn't closer to 100 is because many of those people already were kind of at the maximum level of love that they could put on the survey before they got to the question about BirdNote. So it's very encouraging, and we can't really say the word love enough at BirdNote because it's really at the center of what we do. And whenever anyone comes up to us that knows we're with BirdNote, talking about the team and the board and people like that, people say, "I love BirdNote." That's that verbatim. They will always use the word love, which is really a testament to the power of the storytelling.
Nick, that is, I mean, this is, as if we didn't already know, it's the confirmation of birds as bridges to better, right?
Mm,
And again, we build in two four-letter words, love and hope,
mm,
both of which are in short supply between humans these days. And so, if birds are able to heal us in ways that, as the slide says, 97% said that BirdNote has helped them feel more connected to nature and to other people who love nature. That's a huge statement. And again, it's not something that we can engineer, really. It's not something, unfortunately, that policy is really going to push forward. I think one of the things that we're learning is that we have to move forward in different ways, and birds, with lift and thrust and the trust that they have in the wind and the weather, um, it feeds us in different ways, and really it activates, I think, even a different part of us, a different part of our spirits that maybe has been lagging. So this is amazing. This birds as bridges slide is really pleasing to me, and
Hmm.
it gives me hope.
Same. Ditto that. Why don't we go to the next slide? We have two more slides here. I just want to show a few more of these results of the survey. Um, so what actions has BirdNote inspired people to take? And again, we didn't know, we had very little idea of how this would come back, but we worked with our Science Advisory Council and others to put together a list of things that we felt were pretty much in reach of most people, or at least there were a number of things on here that would be. And we're pretty comprehensive when it comes to things people can do. And this is what people said. So over 40% clean their bird feeders regularly. Almost 40% plant native plants, use mobile apps for bird observations. Keeping cats indoors, I just want to underscore the impact of that, knowing that billions of birds a year are killed by cats, by domestic cats. That number is nothing to, it's no small thing. If you think about how many cats that ends up being, that ends up totaling in the millions over years. So all these things really, they might seem small on a household level, but you add them up across the country, and it's pretty stunning.
It is, Nick. I mean, when you look at these things, right? These are things that don't require, many of them, extraordinary effort, right?
Right.
And it's sort of like I will tell students, um, if you're on your way to class and you pick up one piece of trash, then somehow the world is one less piece of litter heavy, right? Somehow it's lighter in that way.
Right.
So those little steps that we can make, to incrementally make our patches better, right? And it's in your cup, right? Birds are in your cup. They're in your transportation. They're in your pets, and caring for your pets and keeping them indoors. There are all these ways of helping that activate us, that activate us. And so this caring slide, and it gives us an opportunity to care outside of ourselves. And birds show their appreciation by persisting.
Hmm. Yep, exactly. So just want to, make mention that every bid people make tonight supporting this continued storytelling that has this impact, pretty major conservation impact across the country and even around the world. So in a few minutes, we're going to spotlight some of those auction items, but let's see this last slide before we do that. So you might know that the Corporation for Public Broadcasting was recently closed down because federal funding was rescinded by the Congress, and that means that public radio stations are suffering. I want to mention that BirdNote provides its daily show to stations absolutely free of charge and always has. And that's one of the reasons that very small stations can air the show, even if they don't have a budget for programming. And that's only because of donors like folks on the call and others have supported what we do, that we can continue to do that. So supporting BirdNote allows us to continue offering that show for free. It supports all of public radio, and it keeps science-based storytelling alive on the public radio airwaves. So we're celebrating also that 17 new stations have added BirdNote Daily in 2025. We're celebrating that we have 2 new seasons of Bring Birds Back, our long form podcast, phenomenal podcast. Encourage you to check it out. And Drew was the guest of our last episode of our last season. It's one of the best episodes ever. And then a new season is coming December 2025. So check that out. And then we're also celebrating just how many people love these shows. This was an idea our founder, Chris Peterson, had maybe 22 years ago. And it was such a powerful idea. So many people came together to make it a reality that we now have this incredible national and global community that love the storytelling and love the show. Drew, if we can, we're going to pause our conversation um, and then bring you back in about 10 minutes for kind of a wrap up and a reading, if that's okay.
Sure.
Great. And I'm going to welcome in Adam Sedgley and Joey Manson. I'm going to do a quick intro here. We're going to take about 10 minutes to walk us through some of the incredible items we have on the auction page. Joey Manson is a BirdNote board member and director of the Seward Park Audubon Center in Seattle. Adam Sedgley is a former BirdNote staff member and board member, a staff member back when BirdNote used to burn the shows onto CDs and mail them out to stations, right? It wasn't that, and is the senior director of global web development strategy at Conservation International. So Joey and Adam are offering and hosting a few of these great auction items themselves. So we're inviting them to talk about what they're offering and then offer a little bit of a description of some of the other great things on the site. So if you haven't gone to the site and registered to bid, why don't we put that in the chat again, just in case folks missed it the first time, so people can register to bid and follow along. Joey, will you kick things off for us?
It's tough to follow Dr. Drew Lanham, so I think I've been set up here. But I'm so happy to be part of what's going on right here, and to kind of introduce you just a few of the things that you can find on the auction page. So first of all, we're going to start with the question: did you know that Seward Park is in the city of Seattle and is an old growth forest? So one of the things I want to invite you to bid on is something that I myself will be delivering. And that's going to be what we call the premium owl prowl experience. And this is when we're going to learn about owls. And so what we're going to do is you'll learn about owls, the way they call, the way they hunt, the way they actually regurgitate the things that they don't consume, and be really engaged in what owls do and what makes them such tremendous nighttime hunters. We're going to do a presentation inside, and then boom, we're going to take you outdoors, you and your group of friends, and we'll be outside in the night. We'll be listening, we'll be looking, we'll be trying to find those owls, maybe find a few owl pellets. And once we finish a little bit of time outdoors, we'll take you down to the water's edge where we have a broiling bonfire. And of course, if we got a bonfire, that means you got s'mores. So we'll sit around, we'll make s'mores, we'll play music, we'll play some games, and then Big John the Falconer will show up and he'll have two of his owls there for you to see. These owls are magnificent, and you'll be able to learn more and more about these birds that he has brought for you to see up close and personal, maybe even do a selfie with them. It's spectacular, and it's something that you and your friends will not soon forget. And so that's going to be the premium owl prowl experience here in Seattle, Washington. The next one, this is for you starry-eyed people who love looking up and seeing the Milky Way. This one is a program an event that's going to support both BirdNote and its Jackson Hole partner, KHOLFM. And so they'll share the fees 50-50, but it's for a luxurious 4-night stay for two at the Grand Tetons Luxury Geodome at Tama Jackson Hole. If you're not familiar with this place, it's going to be a geodome colony where the floors, the ceiling windows open to see these great mountain views. You'll step outside at night, you'll look up and you'll see the great view of so many stars. If you've never done this before, this is an amazing opportunity to be in a secluded place with you and a friend and enjoy the outdoors like you've never seen it before, and then step inside to a luxurious geodome habit. So please take a bid, take a look, take an offer, try this one out. But if you love the stars, this may be a wonderful program for you. And it's led by Eco Tour Adventures. And finally, one that really helps support our organization. Of course, you're all familiar with BirdNote Daily. Well, there are 10 episodes about birds that are in decline and that need to be sponsored. This is your opportunity to have your name or a loved one or friend recognized at the end of the show. It's going to be listened to by over 8 million listeners worldwide, and it's going to be enshrined in the Library of Congress as part of an archive of public broadcasting. Your sponsorship costs $2,500, and from the writing and sound design to the production marketing, that covers all those costs. So this is a way to be remembered for your love of birds, to share your desire for more people to learn about birds, and to impact birds that are in decline through our regular BirdNote Daily episodes. Hope you can have a chance to take a look at those and hopefully sponsor one or two of these events. And now we got Adam Sedgley.
Just up the street. Joey and I live very close to one another. So it's great to be a part of this. I've been a part with BirdNote for 20 years now. I was there when the first episode aired in February 21st, 2005. So it's very near and dear to my heart. And I'm excited to be a part of two trips that are auction items. The first one up is a trip north of Seattle to the Skagit Valley. And if anyone's experienced it, they know how special it can be, especially in winter. We will be going up there. We'll be witnessing. I mean, it's guaranteed to see these tens of thousands of snow geese that are coming down from Wrangel Island in Siberia. They winter up in the Skagit Valley every year. We'll also be able to find trumpeter swans and tundra swans, and a lot of other wintering waterfowl, shorebirds. Like some of the most memorable experiences that I've had birding is just watching these wheeling flocks of shorebirds trying to evade a peregrine falcon. You can sometimes see a merlin, certainly American kestrel, prairie falcons are up there, gyr falcon also. It is a very, very exciting opportunity to go up, and we'll see a lot, and so we have some flexibility here too, depending on what the winner of that item wants to see. So we're really hope you can join us for that. And then, yeah, that's sponsored with Evergreen Escapes. So it includes transportation, park entry fees, snacks, and picnic lunch. And so the other trip that I'll be a part of is just east. We're going to go up and over, just over the Cascade Mountains to the east of Seattle, to a lovely resort called Suncadia. It's a beautiful place. It's set among ponderosa and lodgepole pine forest, just verdant, and just a beautiful, beautiful location. And from there, using that as the base, we can travel into a number of different areas in that immediate vicinity. And this one's really customizable. Really depends what you all want to see. We can spend some time in the mountains, up in the mature conifer forests. We'll be able to hear varied thrushes sing, certainly Swainson's and hermit thrushes, depending on how high we go. We could also head a little further east and go into the sagebrush. See sagebrush sparrow, brewer's sparrow, loggerhead shrike. We could also spend some time with bluebirds. There's a very nice prairie right nearby. We could look for white-headed woodpecker. I'm sorry, I'm kind of going on here, but it is very customizable, and a lot of really exciting opportunities abound. And I will be, love to take you there. It's a really, really special part of the state and, even the country. And that is up for 4 people and for a one-night stay in Suncadia. And then we're getting a little bit, I think the next item is art, a piece of art that is a Creekside print by Susan Point. I have purchased art at numerous BirdNote auctions. I was going to aim, have those hanging during this presentation, but trust me, I have a stack of it, and this would be no exception here. This is a beautiful piece. She is a Canadian artist. It's a new take on movement and Coast Salish art. And Susan Point is the officer of the Order of Canada, which is a tremendous accomplishment for an artist. So just very generous donation. This is a limited edition print from 2022, and you might have to beat me for that one. And then the next item is a very quirky kind of piece of North American folk art. It's a twisted branch with a bird on it. It was purchased by the donor of this piece, purchased in 1940 in Ontario. And this is 100% something I would love to find in an antique store, and you might have to beat me for this one too. And honestly, there's some artistic liberties taken with the bird. It could be a cardinal. If you squint at it, I think it could be an ivory-billed woodpecker, and I think that actually adds the value too. 1942, it wasn't soon after they had one of the more recent sightings of that species. So certainly not in Ontario though. But it's a very beautiful piece. We hope you can bid that up. And then the third piece that I would like to highlight, actually, it's actually a workshop. You can make your own piece. That's the key to this. It's an online workshop for up to 25 by a celebrated bird artist, Ashwini Sadekar, and she's a great educator too, whose work celebrates the beauty of birds and blooms of the Pacific Northwest. It's a 90-minute virtual watercolor workshop, and you can learn from her, and then also invite 25 of your friends or family members to join you. It's definitely not an opportunity to be missed. BirdNote really appreciates your support.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Joey. I'm also really excited to announce that we have over $31,000 in bids already. Bidding only goes until 8 p.m. Pacific tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern. So we're hoping we can beat our record for this auction, which is $40,000. If we could get to $50,000, it would be incredible, and really help us reach our year-end fundraising goal. Make sure we can continue producing these stories and sharing them with radio stations for free. So please check out that page, bid early and often. And thank you very much, Joey and Adam, for spotlighting these great items and for offering them in the auction. So I'm going to welcome Drew back, I think, with a special fun announcement, actually, about a new auction item that is just about to go live on the page. And Drew, do you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, I mentioned the loon expedition that takes place in the springtime, and K. Cobb Wade and Brooks Wade Jocassee expeditions. What they are able to offer there is a singular kind of thing, and so to be able to go out on the lake in a very small party, to be surrounded by lots of loons. I'm not going to guarantee you thousands, but I'll guarantee you dozens to hundreds of loons, plus horned grebes, occasionally red-necked grebes that have found this, and gulls, and the knowledge of Brooks Wade, who is amazing. I will tell you that my first time out, going out before the sun came up, and hearing these vocalizations that I'd never heard out of loons, but also out of grebes. But then Brooks has studied these birds long enough to be able to tell when they're going to take off. And that morning, the ceiling was low, and Brooks said, if they go through that particular gap, and if the ceiling is low over this particular ridge, they're going to come back, because it's visual flight rules for these birds. Those are the kinds of stories that Brooks tells. And sure enough, it's almost like by a watch, the birds began to come back. They don't feed before they go out, right? Carry-on luggage has to be of a certain weight for them to fly. They come back and they begin feeding. And so to see that is a marvel. And I equate it to seeing Wimbrel come to roost on DeVoe Bank outside of Charleston, but it's an upstate South Carolina story. It's a blue wall story. It's a southern Blue Ridge escarpment story. And it's the story of birds taking what humans have wrought and using it for their own design. So it's a conservation success story in some ways, but it's also mysterious. So a small party for us to go out with Brooks Wade, K. Cobb Wade, on a boat, on Jocassee, at some places in South Carolina. You have to understand, we don't have lakes here except man-made lakes, human-made lakes, and beaver ponds. But this is a 400-foot lake, extremely cold water, beautiful. We'll probably see all of the waterfalls that feed the lake, but we'll see loons like you've probably never seen loons before. And I say that even challenging my friends in Minnesota and Maine. Uh, we're going to see loons in a very special way.
Well, thank you for offering that to the auction, and it sounds like it'll be an incredible experience. I hope somebody gets it. So we're just coming up to the end of our conversation here, Drew, which it flew by. I could talk to you for much longer if it were possible. But before we ask you to do your reading to kind of close us out, I know you are a professor. Could you offer us, a Joy 101? What is J. Drew Lanham's guide to finding joy in everyday life?
The joy is wonder. The joy is in wonder. I've spent so much of my life sort of searching for science as the truth, which is vital. It's critical that we have the data points that we have. But really, in order to find true joy, I think you have to shed all pretense and be willing to go out and have child's mind and just wonder at the birds that are suddenly appearing in your backyard that could have come from a continent away. And suddenly they are there. And that we're not out there at that point counting birds, trying to lengthen a list, but thinking about that one bird and what that one bird had to do to be where you are, and that it's now gracing your presence with its presence. That's joy for me.
Mm. Thank you for that. I wanted to ask if you'd read an excerpt from the title poem from your latest book, and it's an excerpt you read in the last season of Bring Birds Back, but it's just such a powerful piece. Would you mind reading that for us?
Yeah, is it okay? I'm gonna read Joy as It Comes.
Of
Will that
course.
work?
However you're moved. Yeah.
Joy as it comes. More than 20 blackbirds murmurating in an orange evening sky. Any sparrow singing from a weed top. Sunrise, sunset. Full moons with names. Birds without hateful people's names. Autumn at its blushed orgasmic peak. A sounder of baby pigs escaped from whatever pen once held them. Acceptance of a butterfly lit on my hand to suck sweat salt from my skin. A whiskey buzz good enough to loosen the conversation just a bit. Finding the precocious trillium in March, braving the last frost. First frost on fern fronds, soon. A salamander red as fire in a cool spring pool, a tug of unknown origin on the end of a wet fishing line. A clear EKG. A white-tailed buck believing himself unseen. First oven bird in the April wood. Teacher, 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 teacher. The voices of thrushes migrating in nighttime skies. A woodcock in an old field wet swale being called to heaven by lust. Those are joy for me.
Thank you, Drew. And were we in person, there'd be a raucous round of applause. I imagine you could see all those hearts coming up. Having you here really means the world to us, Drew, and just having you as a supporter and partner in this work, it gives us strength and energy and hope, and we're grateful to you.
Thank you, Nick, for BirdNote, for all that BirdNote has done for me personally, but all that BirdNote is doing for birds and people, and know that you can count on me always.
Thank you so much. And
take care, everyone. Thank you.
Someone's going to get to see you for the Loon Tour next year.
Looking forward to it. Take care.
Thank you, Drew. All right, so we are coming up on the end of our event. We have one final very exciting segment to share with you. I get to introduce our musical guest this evening now, Jocelyn Mackenzie. Jocelyn is a Brooklyn-based singer, songwriter, art director. Hi, Jocelyn. And medium, among many other things. She released her debut full-length solo album, Push, on Ani DeFranco's Righteous Babe Records label in 2021. Her music has been heard and commissioned for movies and TV. She's a long list of theater credits, and she was the singing drummer from indie pop trio Pearl and the Beard from 2007 to 2015, often touring with such noteworthy artists as Ani DeFranco, Nico Case, Bastille, Iron and Wine, Ingrid Michaelson, Lucius, Dar Williams, Lady Lamb, and David Wax Museum. You can learn more about her work at jocelynmackenzie.com. Jocelyn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor, and I've just really loved the beautiful poetry and the love that is being shared. It's very palpable, and I'm so grateful to be here.
And thank you for bringing your the wooden. We identified those as crows earlier, I guess.
Yes.
Or maybe posing as ravens. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for writing and choosing such a beautiful song to share. Could you tell us a little bit about the inspiration for it?
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for asking me to be here. So this is a song from my record Push that you mentioned, which is on Righteous Babe, and this was a song that really just has a lot of birds mentioned in it, so I figured it had to be the obvious choice of what to perform for you tonight. And, living in Brooklyn, we don't get a lot of nature, so we kind of have to find those little pockets of nature connection wherever we can. And, even though we have, of course, some common ones, sparrows, pigeons, that kind of thing, just imagining what their lives are like, as these natural beings living in this urban environment. And it's amazing because they really do make it work. So I do write a lot of songs just as I'm kind of walking around. And as I was walking, I was seeing, very common birds. But then my imagination kind of took hold of me, and it went from, a sparrow to maybe now we have a crow, and maybe now suddenly there's a heron and an owl coming into the room. But, those, we don't see those as much in Brooklyn. But, just a way to connect the natural and the urban was a really important thing for me. And I will say I do have a family of hawks living in the tree in front of my house where I live. So that's always really exciting to see them.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much. Really excited for you to perform. So I'm going to jump off the screen and leave it to you.
Thank you so much. Here we go. I was walking in the garden, saw a little sparrow sitting on the arbor. She was singing, I was listening. It was more eternal grace than I could harbor. Ooh, ooh, saw a magpie, brave and so sly, pilfering her bits of foil for the fodder. Saw a pelican skate on the wind, genuflect her silver wingtips to the water. So a black crow, steady as she goes, glide beside her pretty witches in the autumn. Saw a starling, oh my darling, just because she's beautiful don't mean you bother her. So the finches, sweet as peaches, belly up like golden Easter eggs for butter. Saw a warbler, righteous martyr, cracked her neck and spilled her blood upon the altar. Then a harpy who looked just like me, teeth of steel and razor talons for the slaughter. She said smiling, don't be frightened. Where do you think you'd go once you were no one's daughter? Then a heron, owl and falcon tore me limb from limb and spread me thin as butter. Said the sparrow, flying backwards, mind what beckons you to tread into my garden. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jocelyn. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for that amazing performance. It's just a wonderful way to close out the event. And just going with the theme of the event, I know that brought me a lot of joy, and I'm hoping that it did for everyone else too. So before we say good night and goodbye, I just want to thank our sponsors again for making this event possible. And one final reminder, bid, bid, bid. The auction closes at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. We put that link to the auction in the chat again. So happy bidding, and have a great night, everybody.